nihilism is worse than Nazism. In the satanic movement, the nihilist is a lead weight. You have to see the meaning in the tree. And if you can, you will see the meaning in yourself. That meaning doesn't mean much, and it means everything. Every cog, every bolt, every rusted cog and bolt, every grain of rusty dust that once was a rusty cog or bolt, that once was a fresh and oiled and strong and useful cog and bolt. We are tree food. You are tree food. I am tree food.
This podcast is based around the history and experiences of the infamous Shane Bugbee, recollected and retold by Shane Bugbee himself. Who is Shane? Well, you're about to find out. I'm your host, Nannerl, and this is Speak of the Devil.
He was such a good friend of mine, and she read it and she tripped out. She's like, I read it all in one day. And she's like on the phone. I'm like, oh, good. She's like, listen, I can't talk to you. I have to read it again. I'm like, okay. And she read it again. She goes, do not put this out. Do not put this out. And I'm like, why? She goes, it'll cause death. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And she's like, what? How can you say that? And I go, I have no pity on myself. Why would I have pity on the consumer? I don't believe in pity in art. I have no pity on myself, no pity on you. When I put artwork out, I don't. That's just how I see it. Maybe I should, but that's the unfortunate nature of like the Radio Free Satan stuff. Back in that day, is the same attitude. I had no pity, and I think that's how art should be. Art should pure art. Maybe not all art. Art has all these levels, right? All these layers. Mm-hmm. But really expressive, emotional art, it shouldn't have. You should have no pity on yourself. You should be honest. That's the generosity of an artist is that unbearable honesty. Unbearable. It's like, fuck, I'm bleeding for you. Ah, you know. And so that's a lot with that Radio Free Satan stuff. Even in my ignorance back then, it was like no pity for myself, no pity for my. And back then, when you're younger, you even start thinking about your bloodline, your family. How will this affect my parents? How will I fuck up my family name? Can I fuck up? You know what I'm saying? Can you fuck up your name? Can you put bad reputation on your whole family? Why you laugh about that?
I think that it's something that I don't ever think about. And so it's definitely a different way to think for myself. Yeah,
well, I just thought, when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about revenge on my family, actually. I'm like looking to hurt their feelings, transgressive art and all. I'm looking to hurt everyone around me. I'm not anymore. I'm looking to heal myself and others, or heal myself and put out something that generates thought and love. How arrogant of me.
How arrogant to think about that.
How arrogant to think I have the power to do that, but I'm going to give it a try. What the hell?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering what we're talking about right now, we're talking about a hybrid between Might Is Right, 24-hour Radio Free Satan, 24-hour radio that Mr. Shane Bugbee did years ago. But even more important, we've got something called the tangible formula for love and loss, despair and joy, and the triumph and failure of the collective will, part 1, which released a couple months ago. And if you're curious enough to get your hands on one, it's available on paperback as well as hardcover, and you can find it through shanebugbee.com. I have an excerpt here that I'm going to read. I think that it really stands out and is timeless in 2 different ways. Might is a feeling, not tangible. It comes after survival, and it is a fleeting moment, a reward. Do you think that quote would have meant something different back when you did the radio show with Doug?
I don't think I would have even it means something different. Interesting. I don't think we would even considered it. I think maybe if someone were to say that, we would have said, get the hell out of here, hippie. Get the fuck out of here. We were equating might with strength, with physical strength, or like lifting like might, like I could crush you. I could just, and with my bare hands. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we equate might. That's what we equated might with back then. And I think that's what a lot of younger people equate might with, is strength. And they're two different things. Survival of the fittest. The subtitle of Might is Right. That's why it confuses you. Might is right. Survival of the fittest. You have to be strong to survive, but strong in what way? Back then, I don't remember the 24-hour radio show so much, mm-hmm. But I don't think we ever equated Bill Gates with might, even though I was thinking that back then. Like, might of today is Bill Gates or the people who started Google. That's might. It's the brain. It's the mind. It's not the sword, And so I wonder, boy, that radio show was so long ago. What is that, 25 years ago? Jeez. Grandpa! Yeah. So
get your walker, and we're going to delve even more into this. Shane, let's first jump into your book. Before we go into the past, I want to visit the present. What inspired your book? What can someone find in the book? And do you recommend they start at the beginning?
Oof. The tangible love, the tangible formula for love and loss, despair and joy, and the triumph and failure of the collective will, part 1. What inspired this? Total fucking heartbreak, total despair, total break in philosophical beliefs, total evolution of self for myself. It took me 5 years to get to the point that I could be this person. That took a lot of counseling and therapy and stuff like that to understand the brute that I was, and the just how many problems I had from my youth. I don't want to say I didn't care about anyone around me, but I didn't, and how could I? I was just in a lot of pain from childhood traumas and stuff. But this whole thing is the story of the end of a 25-year partnership. I want to call it a love affair, but I have bitter feelings right now. It's hard for me to talk about that relationship in a realistic way. I want to give it a full year before I analyze. Right now I'm real bitter. So I don't want to say anything bitter, and I don't like to have regrets. And so I would say that this book inspired by a total psychotic break, a total fucking heartbreak and psychotic break.
Could you suggest that you are turning a page or opening a new book now because you've closed this book?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. Absolutely. I've gone in a different path, mm-hmm. and my partner's in a different path, and so yeah, absolutely. My path is very clear, and I'm not going to. And it's also very much typical of like artists that just I'm not going to stop doing what I do. Like there's nothing that's going to stop my path. I've been pulled throughout my life against my will at times down the road that I've taken. It's like when I say I've taken it, it really took me. I just wanted to start publishing, and I thought like censorship and stuff like that was obscene to me. When I saw Frank Zappa on MTV talking about the PMRC hearings, that shit just started me off on like looking for occult knowledge and looking to make that occult knowledge accessible to people, because I thought that would fix my father or my mother, shit like that. I'm a fixer, I guess. And so, yeah, new page, absolutely new page. And I'm pretty stoked about it.
There's a lot of mention of love throughout this book, and it seems like the word love is mentioned so much that you could almost make a drinking game out of it. It's interesting that the word love is used sometimes in a tone of bitterness, and sometimes it's very sincere. And it's amazing because we've spoken, as well as with our friend Alan, about different ways the word love can be used. It doesn't necessarily mean one thing. And this book definitely has a lot of ambiguity over what love is. And it's interesting that, of all things, love is tied in with might in this book. And what may have been brute strength and a primal thing back when seems like might now is an inner strength or the ability to stand up. Not necessarily a brute, but emotionally very strong.
Yes, the ability to be yourself. That is some might. The ability to be yourself, to be the person, the character that you are, versus the identity you take on. Yes, certainly from the relationship I came out of, it was tooth and claw, very, very much might is right relationship. And so you had to, and that was a physical strength, might. And so I became very uncomfortable with that kind of stuff. Where I understood might the most was the body keeps the score. When I read that book, it broke me down. It changed my life, and it made me understand how most people today see might is right is through their abuse or their childhood traumas or things that they witnessed as a young person, much like lavey speaks of your sexuality's formed in your first sexual moments. That's where that's where your life fetishes are formed, is through that. And so it's hard to talk about this book sometimes, I guess. Throws me. So when I read Body Keeps the Score, it broke me down and showed me that, like, you basically are looking to relive your traumas. So if you've been abused, you're looking to relive that. There's even a chemical breakdown, the smell of the scent that you let off when you're under stress, when there's a stressful situation, can't be reproduced. So for instance, if you've been raped and you don't deal with that situation, that secretions that happen, then you look to fulfill that. You look to put yourself in stressful situations to fulfill these chemical urges and stuff. And so you have a lot of theatrical stress in your life that you don't really fucking need. Life doesn't have to be so stressful. I think a lot of people have stress because, they're not chased by mountain lions. I used to say that. But I think it's more that they have unresolved issues, and we have science, but not a lot of people have access to scientific solutions like doctors and healthcare. So we can't figure that stuff out. It took me till I was this age to have access to healthcare and be able to get some of, get advice to read that book, let's say. And I'm just not comfortable reliving abuse. I feel a lot better getting away from it or understanding it.
That's completely understandable.
That's what the mix-up in that book is between might and love. And that's how I sort of started to see might as like, oh, this is a fucking scent. This is a feeling after you survive a mountain lion. Might, you don't have to be strong. Might is based on luck. It's not based on strength. Strength is based on accomplishment, let's say. Whether you're strong in the mind or strong in the arm. Strength is based on accomplishment, as well as luck, genetic luck, let's say, and stuff like that. But, it is based in luck. Might is full luck. Versus strength, there might be a percentage of luck in there. And so that's just how I saw might. And much like love, I see love as a momentary thing versus and an illusion the rest of the time. That's why we give Valentine's Day cards, to keep up the illusion of love in a relationship versus, oh, I love you after a good dinner, a good romantic movie, a good fucking whatever. You feel love, but it's not always there. Couldn't be. You'd be worn out. Then that's how it becomes addictive. Love is addictive. Might is addictive. And people chase after might in a way that is perverse. When you see it be militant, when you see these alt-right people co-opt might is right, that stuff is very disturbing to me. And I have felt an overwhelming responsibility to turn back the tide after the 2016 election, which was on my birthday. November 9th, 2016. November 10th, I got about 200 emails from what seemed to be people who were in the alt-right, you could say, and most of them were just straight up white supremacists or haters. Not, like, I don't want to say Nazis, because that's a political group. Not everyone has joined the Nazi party, but they just feel they're supreme white beings, white supremacists. And when I got all those emails, I took the book off sale. I thought I'd always sell Might is Right for historic purposes, because it was lavey's go-to. I thought it was cool to do for that reason. But when I saw the results of what I had done, people thanking me, thank you for putting this book out. It showed me the light. I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh no.
You've misinterpreted this. And I took it off. And at that point, I started to see things. I really started to think about it. And it consumed my thoughts to the point that I saw it much like love. It's an illusion. It's a momentary thing. And it's an illusion. It's not tangible. And that's why people become addicted to it like drugs. And you buy a gun, you shoot it, you feel that might for a second. You feel it. Well, they do. You feel this rush, and then here we are. Autowaffle or whatever. You have all these fucking weird groups popping up. Ugh.
Oh, atomwaffle.
Yeah, autowaffle, autowaffle.
Autowaffle. Let's call them autowaffles.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to call them, autowaffle. Exactly. We'll call them autowaffles, jerks. Anyway,
jerks.
Well, they are. It's jerks. They're exhausting to me because, anyway, I don't feel, that responsible for how people interpret things I put out either. This is a hard thing as an artist to feel responsibility for your interpretation of what I put out. I'm not a white supremacist, and I didn't join any of these groups. I don't promote that stuff. So it's hard to take that responsibility, but I do to a point. Like my only responsibility was to rethink it. And how could I rethink it? What do I do here? How do I rethink this? And so I just thought about it. I dedicated a lot of my time after that election to thinking about Might is Right and thinking about that inspiration or that influence that I gave to people through that book. And when I looked at Might is Right, I understood. Wow, you guys don't. A couple people were making fun of me. Like, listen to this. Look at this. You sold me Might is Right 20 years ago, and now you're into Bernie Sanders. That's fucking bizarre, dude. And that was like a comment I started thinking about. I'm like, Jack London had a part of this book, or is rumored to. Upton Sinclair, the Lion's Paw, the paper they put at the UIC, that was a socialist paper. This is rooted in socialism. That's where I look back at my earlier stuff before that, before I put Might is Right out, like Metal Fest magazine and Naked Aggression and stuff like that. And in my introductions, I'm talking about class issues. I'm talking about how my father thought he was going to work for the company that he worked for his whole life and get a gold watch. He was the first wave of layoffs. He was the first wave of people seeing the American dream as the illusion it was. And the pain we had. And my partner, too, was in a steel mill town watching all these people be flush with cash and then be totally broke and drug addicts and drunkards within years. And so that's where my sympathies have always lied, is the class struggle. And so when I put Might is Right out, it was to inform the Palestinian, not the Israeli who was bombing the Palestinians. I was trying to inform the poor person what is happening. It wasn't a guide to. It wasn't something to go, hey, you could be just as powerful as them. Just study this book. You'll be able to climb power. That was never anything in my head. We were talking about Might is Right earlier, or the 24-hour radio show, but I forgot what we were saying.
Well, like the radio show was done back in 2002, and just the fact that even back then there was disagreement over who owns Might is Right, basically. Who gets to claim it? Because as I recall you telling me that the Nazis were the white supremacists, the white supremacists were upset about lavey being involved in it, but then Church of Satan wasn't too thrilled about the white supremacists because of someone's involvement in that.
Oh, that was thrilling for me. That was why I published stuff, is to get people's goat. I collected all the goats. And so, yeah, the white supremacists would fucking give me death threats and sign it and put their social security number under their signature. Like, turn me in. This is how serious I'm about killing you, for putting a Jew as the forward. Because LaVey, Anton LaVey, Dr. LaVey is of Jewish heritage. And then the Satanist would message and say, and when I say message, not email, it was like fucking letters. We're going to curse you for doing this. So, I loved the whole thing. I thought it was great. If I wasn't getting a death threat a day back then, I wasn't doing my job. It was great. It was a great moment.
Do you know?
I don't mind that.
Do you know why Doug was attracted to Midas Wright?
Well, I know that Doug, you can see it very clearly now. I wouldn't even have to speak it. I think you can see he's in a quest for power. And like I said, I think a lot of people took Midas Wright as a roadmap to power.
Do you think he's one of those people who did that?
Oh, absolutely. You could see that. I mean, he runs a cult or a group. I don't want to even call, because people attack that, but he runs a group that's trying to move people like grains of sand into the hourglass, or like blades of grass as they blow in the wind. He's trying to be the wind and move the grass. And so that is so opposite of what like LaVey or Crowley or any of the occultists are trying to do, is free humanity or show the hypocrisy of control, and how it slows down progress. If you're not your true self and the best self you can be, it just slows us all fucking down. You become sand in the cogs or something, not cog. You're not even a cog. You're like rust. Get the hell out of here, And so I think it shows in Doug's actions. But if you're asking, do I know where Doug was going back then? I know he has a love of Caesar. Caesar's one of his favorite faves, and I know his first trip out of the country was to go visit where Mussolini was born and died. Let's say he went to because he's into Mussolini. So yeah, I think Doug's into power and control and law. I know when I spoke at Harvard a couple times. Visit Doug, he would always make jokes. We'd walk around, there should be a law against that. There should be a law against that. But that's a projection of his character. And, I can be friends with cats like that. They're individuals. I can at least hang out with people of all ilk. But when you start to run a group and recruit ignorant people of a lower class, I'm of a class war. I'm for the worker. If someone ever says to me, "Okay, I got your thing right here, boss," I go, "Hey, I'm not a boss. I'm a worker." Keep that in mind. I'm for that. And so we're opposed in a public way and privately. At this point in time, things are so serious. I'm opposed to any motherfucker talking that shit anywhere. They could whisper that in my ear, and I'm gonna want to punch them out. But I don't want to be physical violent. I shouldn't say that. I would just want to step away from them, I should say, and say, I don't want to talk to you anymore, mister or miss, because I'm not into those politics.
It's a very different Shane compared to 2002 Shane. Your tone is so aggressive in that old radio show. And even though you can tell it's the same person, you can tell you've definitely grown from that. And if any of you have not heard it, you should head over to Anchor and find I think it's R.I.P. Shane Bugbee. I
change the name all the time. I think it's called it's called, if you go to anchor.com/Shane Bugbee, you'll find my podcast feed, which changes all the time. Now it's called The Tangible Formula for Love and Loss, but I'm going to probably drop that now too. It's just my personal diary. It's not really a decent it's not a great podcast like this.
Well, my point of saying that is that this is kind of how I saw that you were definitely a different person than the one that every Twitter pointing out how alt-right TST is deep down inside was pointing out this radio show, because they were pointing out a lot of things that you and Doug would say. And it was very interesting to come across your podcast, your anchor, let's just call it your anchor, and hear you own up to it. Take full fucking responsibility for something that you said and that you obviously didn't mean. Or if you meant it, even with a grain of salt, you no longer mean it. That you have grown from it and that you're a different person. To me, that made me respect you a whole lot more.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I would have to hear anything to say what I meant or didn't. But if I said something shocking, that was just a deal back then. Shock jocks, Howard Stern, Steve Dallas, who was one of my idols. So it was a way you communicated back then. This is pre-internet now.
I like Howard Stern too, Baba Booey.
Yeah, so Baba Booey, yeah. It's like that's a way you communicated back then, was just to shock people. You say something to get a listener, to get haters, because they'll tune in. We're in a different world now, a totally different world. It's just not appropriate. And I like the idea that I can communicate without a middle person. So if people are talking shit about it, and I had seen some of that stuff on the internet, and I was like, well, I'm gonna put my opinion out there right now as to how I feel about this, in order to well, I wouldn't even say set the record straight. I just wanted to add to my history.
You said it, and you can't take it back. All you can do is grow from it.
Yeah, and I just want to add, so whether I would have done this, whatever I felt, if I was like still a hater, I would have did the same thing. It wasn't like I got on. Me doing whatever, taking ownership of it, doesn't help me either way. It probably, actually, at this moment in my life, especially with how things are in this country, if I would have embraced might is right and the hate and kept selling might is right to all these haters, I'd be flush with cash right now. Actually, it would be benefiting me. Let's be honest. I could be in a position of power within the alt-right if I just embraced how I was back then. And I understood that. I understood I'm going against a popular tide. I'm going against what is popular. It seems popular, at least. I don't believe it is. I think it's just, that's rhetoric. And that they're so angry, these alt-right people, that they're louder, so they seem like it's popular, but I don't believe it is. But, I could be with my artwork if I were to embrace that, because there's no real artist on the alt-right. They're just a bunch of shit talkers. I'm an actual sculptor. I'm an artist, so they're looking for artists in that world. If I were to say, yeah, fucking might is right, throw down with that stuff, they'd be buying my artwork, prints of it. They'd embrace me, and so it's I want to say unfortunate for me, but it's just the way I am. I have some sort of curse called integrity, and I really do believe my life is my art. And so when I die, that's the end of my artwork. That's my piece. That's my one big sculpture. And I don't want to fuck it up. And so this was something I had to add to my sculpture. It had nothing to do with you or what you thought or anyone else. It just, I had to add that to my sculpture. Every day I wake up and go, this could be my last day. How am I going to add to my sculpture? Is it going to be doing work for other people, or is it going to be doing something for myself and my sculpture? And I try to make as many days count as my artwork as possible. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's another big difference between artists and people just seeking power who don't have the power to begin with. Artists have power. We don't have to look for it. And it does make it painfully obvious that someone seeking power, such as Mr. Doug, may have been envious that you defaulted as having power. You didn't even have to be shocking. You were already accomplished. You already had power back then. And I think that he wanted to taste that. And so I can't help but feel like maybe that was a start to his climb to whatever the fuck it is that he's doing now.
It was certainly a start. It was certainly, he did taste it then. He did have popular, he did feel it. And people did start to understand who he was because he was hanging out with me. And he was a Gothic person. So hanging out with a person that was friends with lavey is a plus in Gothic communities. So it was a plus for him. And yeah, he did start to feel it back then. That's for certain. I've often wondered, in a weird sense, if Doug knew exactly what he was doing before he came to me. Like, he knew, this is how I could get in. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to find a way to get in. And he saw this spot and he took it. I don't know.
Sometimes I wonder about that as well. Actually, okay, I didn't think about this all along, but I started to think about it when you had started to talk about everything TST does is completely intentional. It made me definitely see Doug in that light that, oh shit, he went to Chicago to get your book from you in person and talk to you and stuff like that because he knew what he was doing. He was seems like someone very strategic.
Yes. And when I met him, he was already into the investigative arts. He understood how to investigate people, how to get their, he was like, I was like, holy shit, you're like a little fucking spy. So he knew everything about the investigative spy arts, and I was like, that's what leads me to believe that he was purposeful I hate to say it, I was a weak link. He saw someone that was easy, that, because I am intelligent, but I'm naive. And I believe my learning disability, as I can see it now as an older person, and I don't like the disability, but the way I think differently is taken advantage of by predatory people. And they use the word love and trust and words to me. And because I can't read their face or something like that, I fall for it. And so I think that if you're of a high education, you can see that stuff probably within my actions. So I became a useful idiot, maybe, or a weak link. But I also think that's what Doug is today, is a useful idiot for Kevin and other people with money.
There's always someone higher above you on the food chain. And
yeah.
I don't know if he realizes it now. It seems like he probably does realize it, and he probably plays the game because he knows someone sits higher than him.
His bills are paid.
That's
as an artist. Yeah, as an artist, that's pretty cool to, be funded. We're all looking for that sponsorship.
Do you think Doug's a sociopath?
Oh, define. So I know the definition of sociopath, but I want to hear your definition. So tell me what you think a sociopath is.
I think that he will say and do whatever is necessary to get his agenda across and get his way. Even if it means changing his mind about certain things or suddenly having a different policy about things.
Absolutely. See, I see a sociopath as there's a perversion in there. And I think what you just said there almost is the whole top tier of America. All corporate ilk is that person. When someone, back in the day, punk rock was very calculated, dirty. Mm-hmm. And then when someone didn't know how to do something and they were just sloppy, they would go, oh, it's punk. And I'm like, yeah, that's not punk, it's sloppy. No, it's punk. No, it's fucking sloppy. Everything that this dirty look over here is calculated. You just made it a sloppy thing. And so I think a lot of people get attracted to Satanism because they are liars and cheaters. And I think as much as I have an affection for a lie, the word lie, my definition of lie is basically stretching the truth or exaggerating a story. Like, yeah, the place was packed. When I performed, the place was packed. There's 3 people there.
Because it benefits you to do that.
Yeah, but it's like I'm just stretching the truth. I did perform. There were people there. I felt it was packed because it's a lot. There was 3 people there. It's more people than I had my practice space.
That's a crowd.
Yeah, that's a crowd. So, yeah, there were a crowd there. So you exaggerate. So that's the kind of lie I like. The outrageous stuff. Like I'm a left-wing liberal, but I'm actually a fucking hating fucking right-wing asshole. That's a lie I don't agree with. I don't agree with that kind of lie. That's a deception. That's a criminal deception is what I don't. That's the love, like love or like might. It has different layers. Lies have different layers, and I don't like the criminal deception of a lie. And I do think I would agree with you that there is that within what I see in the Satanic Temple. Yeah. And that's the reason I would talk about it, is because it bothers me so much because of the political climate of America right now.
I feel like there's also a very fine line between seduction and pulling the wool over someone's eyes.
Yeah, right. The layers of lies, the different meanings of a lie. Yeah, exactly. Seduction. There is so many lies in a wig or eyelashes, perfume, all of these great things. Those are little lies. But you're right. They're different than pulling the wool over. Yeah, I like that.
I think that deception also, like when someone finds out they've been exploited or they've been taken for a fool, I think that it's very unforgivable, and it makes me wonder what's going to happen when if and when people realize that they've bought into a scam.
Well, I would hope, as far as the temple is, as far as I went, what happened is I speak about it and I tell people I feel like a useful idiot or whatever. And that was the hardest thing for me to admit. So I can only relate for my own thing. It was really hard not to stuff that down in myself and act like it never happened and go about my existence and just be
Yes.
more calloused and more atheistic in my approach to things. But I'm not, because I suffer from the word artist or intellectual or integrity. I couldn't do that. And once I figured that out, I was like, oh man, I've been duped. I think I've been duped. I don't want to believe this. Me, I'm the smartest man in the world. You know, I've been duped. How could this happen? But it became easier and easier for me to admit this stuff. Like I said, the politics are very serious, and I don't like to see what I'm seeing. So I had no choice. It feels like most of my life and most of my decisions within the art context have been, I don't have a choice. I just do it. Immediate. Heart warrior Chosa, Native American from Ely, Minnesota, of the Ojibwe clan. She told me the hardest decisions you'll make are the right ones to make, but they're hard. That's when I knew it was so hard to fess up on that stuff that I had to do it because it was just the right thing to do. So maybe she's got something there with the hard decisions are what's right, not might, but thoughtful decision. I don't know where I'm going with this.
I think it's quite thoughtful that you did speak your thoughts on Anchor. I know that I enjoyed them. Do you think Doug's listened to them? I can't help but feel like he's at least listened to the one you've talked about how you met him.
He couldn't stay away from me if you paid him. So I'm his mentor. He listens to everything I do. The minute I wore round glasses, big round fucking glasses, like 2 weeks later, he's wearing these big round sunglasses. He doesn't wear glasses. He's never had sunglasses on in his fucking life, but he had to put on these big old fucking round glasses. So he cops a lot of stuff from me. I mean, I'm sure he cops from other people too, but yeah, you couldn't keep that guy away from me if you paid him. I mean, that's a fact. He'll be tuned into all of this.
I was about to say, let's give a shout out to Doug right now. Hey, Doug.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Doogie.
Listening.
Yeah, hey, Doogie. You had your chance, dude. You had your chance to sit down and talk to me. And I wish we, and I still invite you to do this publicly, a public debate on this stuff. I would love to do that. And But Doug's a neuroscientist, a neurologist, a neuroscientist, something like that. So he's going to be able to trick you. He's, I don't know if there's a win. I don't know if you can beat Doug.
The term neuroscientist sounds very broad, like anyone who's within an umbrella term of this science is a neuroscientist. Doug, if you want to give a rebuttal or stand up for yourself, you can email me at thedevilpod@gmail.com and clear the air. You're more than welcome to. But anyway, I can't help but feel like it's something smaller potatoes because he mentions Harvard, but there doesn't seem to be any record of him having a qualification from Harvard. Oh, well, I was there. I've seen him take classes. I've been there. I mean, it looked to me that he was graduating from Harvard. A friend of mine went to his graduation, but that's I'm not trying to shit on his accomplishments, but what I'm saying is that it's clearly not his primary job title because he's busy doing TST.
But isn't it? What he studied there was how to move people, how to trigger people out.
Touché.
And I think people are pretty basic. So I don't think you need a Harvard degree to move people. I'm able to move people myself through marketing. Marketing, you could just study the psychology of colors and move people.
I think that he uses his credentials of going to Harvard to seduce the people who are the lowest common denominator because they're not going to question his attendance or his experiences. When they hear the word Harvard, they trust him. Oh,
that might have been early on, but I think just fame, just being in the newspapers, it goes a long way with people. Like, oh, you were on MTV, that's my age generation, but you were on Fox, you're being interviewed. Oh, that's everyone that wants to climb power loves famous people. They're like, the minute you have notoriety and some sort of fame, people want to climb on top of you. They talk shit like they're your friend, but they just want a piece of you. And I think that's what...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think I just think that's what people are doing. I don't think you need to say Harvard. It just sounds better if you're going to bring Doug over to dinner with your mom. Well, he went to Harvard, Ma. And everyone wants to be, they like to play with the devil. They just don't, like lavey said that. What did lavey said? They like to, he has a great comment. They don't want to take the devil's name, but they definitely like to play the devil's game.
If you would like to find out who the devil is, you can visit shaneisthedevil.com.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and tune into our next episode wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. You can find us at Speak of the Devil Pod on Twitter and contact us at speakofthedevilpod@gmail.com. For Shane's artwork or to support his endeavors, please visit shanebugby.com or find him on Twitter at ShaneBugby. I've been Nannerl. Have a good one.
Oh, and shaneisthedevil.com.